Hey everyone, welcome back to Unboxing the Underground. I am so happy to have here on the channel today Kelly Gredner. Kelly is the host of the podcast Taboo, which dissects transgressive films, and also co-hosts I Spit on Your Podcast, which discusses all sorts of horror and cult cinema. Kelly also dabbles in writing with bylines in Horror Homeroom, Grimm Magazine, and the now defunct Ghoul Magazine. A self-proclaimed cat lady, she loves black metal, rainy days, and being left alone. And you can follow her through Kelly's Taboo Terrors on all social media platforms. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat.
Thank you for inviting me. I love the little bio that I wrote for myself. Made me laugh hearing somebody else say that back to me. And I'm like, oh, and being alone. I was like, God.
I knew as soon as you handed it over that I was excited to read it. So
I
to
mean,
kick
it's
things
accurate, but
right. So to kick things off, what first drew you to the transgressive and depraved side of cinema? Was there a particular film or moment in your life that kind of made you say, like, this is my thing, this is where I want to be?
there definitely was a movie that kind of was like the turning point for me. Like I've dabbled in it over the years into like extreme cinema and whatnot. But it was when I rewatched Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer in about 2018. Like I love that movie. I own it, but I had rewatched it and I thought, nobody's talking about these types of movies. Nobody's really thinking about these movies anymore, and the other aspect of that is I was watching the Beyond Horror, the art. I forget the full title of it, but it's a documentary called Beyond Horror that Jesse Seitz and Marcus Cook directed. And in that, Stephen Byro from Unearthed Films has an interview, and he said something that really spoke to me. And it was that being a horror fan for so many years, like I have been, like I'm almost 42, been watching since I was probably 10 years old. Again, probably too young to be watching stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hellraiser, and what was the other one? Like a Pet Cemetery, just like some dark stuff, Alien. But I've been watching it for, almost 30 years at this point, maybe 25 years. And in this interview, he says, like, you watch so much for so long, you kind of think, what's next? Like, what else is there? And because I was so involved for so many years in more like conventional style horror, there's so many other subgenres and aspects of film that I missed. Like, it just was overlooked because I was so into the conventional stuff, which I still love. I love my Nightmare on Elm Street. But he said that, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm getting kind of bored, let's say, and I just kind of need a new challenge and just need something else to sink my teeth into. Rewatch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and I was like, yes, this is my shit now. Like this is where I'm going to spend the rest of my life researching and supporting.
That's awesome. And what a great film to begin with, because it is extreme, that it's very depraved, that film, but it also I rewatched it maybe in the last couple of years for the first time since I was probably 13 or 14. And there is a kind of like rough elegance to it that I think is a perfect way to dip your toe into what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
With so many mainstream horror films starting to kind of almost flirt with extremity nowadays, whether it be the Terrifier films or even like The Substance or Infinity Pool, like these are huge, giant films. Um, how would you personally define what makes a film like part of the transgressive canon? Is it more about breaking rules or like challenging expectations or showing you taboos?
Well, I would say all of the above. Really, I have noticed too the flirting with the more gratuitous, I'll say. Because I mean, within horror, there's so many different like micro genres and subgenres, and same within the realm of like extreme cinema. And my boys over at Quality Violent Cinema, they created this really beautiful, depraved, macabre web of extreme horror that kind of starts with like extreme horror in the middle and kind of branches off to different areas. And they themselves have their own branches. So like sexploitation's in there. So, exploitation, and I think goes to the gratuitous side of things. And I think that's what these more mainstream movies are starting to dabble in, is becoming more exploitation than like regular cinema, which I think is really fun to play with. And I think exploitation cinema is where the taboo lies so perfectly.
And so many of these films. transgressive films leave you feeling like deeply unsettled, usually by design. And do you think
Yes.
that element of discomfort is a key part of the experience for the viewer? Like, is it kind of built in, baked into the subgenre that we kind of dabble in?
Absolutely, because these movies are very confronting, they're very challenging, and they kind of force you to look at why you're uncomfortable. You watch a movie like Megan is Missing, and there's a gut reaction to that film, and a gut reaction to a lot of things like a Serbian film and a lot of these movies. But once you kind of like sit there with that gut punch of a feeling and parse through why you're so uncomfortable and why you have this initial reaction, you might be surprised by what you learn about yourself, what you learn about society, the world. And yeah, I think there's just more than just a disturbing experience with it. It's just, it's challenging and it challenges you. Whereas I think a lot of conventional stuff does not.
Absolutely. I always say that, a lot of mainstream audiences kind of go to films to be placated. Even horror films want to sort of
Absolutely.
be given a very conventional ride. And if you were to deviate from that, it can be very upsetting if you're not prepared for it. Um,
Absolutely.
what is the difference in your eyes between a film that's transgressive for simple shock's sake versus one that actually has something deeper or even moral to say?
I don't like I kind of get my back up a little bit and get defensive when people, especially online, everybody has their opinions of shocks for shock's sake, which I think is devaluing the shocking effect of it. Again, I'll come back to Megan is Missing just because I've that kind of discourse has started to come up again. I've seen through some social media channels, but um I mean, reality is shocking. You're not going to these underground, disturbing films for entertainment per se, for escapism. You're there to be confronted with some harsh realities that we're not seeing unless we go to something like a documentary or our news. Um, so I understand the desire for the escapism, love that. Use that all the time. But I think we owe it to ourselves to watch some of these movies and learn more about the world and learn about the context of why things were made. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. And Megan is Missing is a great example. That
Uh-huh.
movie will not go away. So
Mm-mm.
I am on some level appreciative of it. It took me many years to see it sort of had this legend behind it, and I feel like every few years, I'm sure you can attest to this, a
Yeah.
very vitriolic discourse comes up about the making of that film. And I'm not sure if you've seen the recent Blu-ray that was put out a few years ago, but there's a lot of really great stuff about how it was made, and yeah, it won't go away, that one.
It doesn't. And it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. And yeah, reality is shocking. Education can be shocking, and we keep having these discussions because I think people don't understand, sorry, viewers don't understand the difference between exploitation films and exploitative like content. Very different things. Just because it makes you upset doesn't mean it's exploitative. That's probably because it's an exploitation film. It's going to be gratuitous. It is going to be shocking. It's going to show you stuff that you probably have not seen before. So get those pearls clutched. Get those pearls together.
Speaking of pearls being clutched, I recently rewatched the new Severin Blu-ray of In My Skin for Marina
Oh.
Devan, and that movie floors me. I had kind of only viewed it in like crappy quality over the years, and now it's been restored in 4K. And it got me thinking about how a lot of the classic transgressive films are very disproportionately male dominated. Do you feel the genre has kind of evolved with an influx of female directors, or is it still kind of behind as far as like gender representation and women's stories?
Still behind, sadly. Things crawl at a snail's pace everywhere. Um, But let's say, what I enjoy, like New French Extremity is also a really excellent decade of film, and definitely a lot of women involved in that, which is really great. But like generally speaking, we could do a lot more. And I mean, even like coming at these movies, they are very niche. I get it. And it is sadly very male dominated. I have been It's almost kind of turned into this new like goal of mine to bring in more women. And I do have a good amount of female listeners to my podcast and on the Discord that I help run with my co-host Jess over at Spinsters of Horror. more women kind of joining and talking about these movies. And I think creating that overused term of a safe space, but an actual, I'm inclusive. Like, we can talk about these movies, we can enjoy these movies without being an asshole, let's say. We can still join them, enjoy them, and have these discussions, challenging discussions, without being dicks about it and to other people. But yeah, sadly, still male dominated. But what I have noticed is that, looking at films of, let's say, Jonathan Doe, and he's very collaborative with the women that are in his films. And he's probably the like forerunner of having women in his films, having women produce, write, direct, and star in his films. Just recently, which I absolutely loved, his erotic grotesque nonsense for Majestic Flesh Faucet of Projectile Bile. Love the title, but it's
It's a
a
hard
mouth.
one.
It's
It's a
a
tough one.
mouthful.
I
Love
have it in
it.
front of me and I can't even get it right.
I know, right? But Reagan Fox, love her, so in love with her, big old crush. But, you know, co-wrote, co-directed, producing, starring, and he really is what these underground filmmakers should resemble. And sadly, they do not.
Absolutely. And he's a great example. I just interviewed the two of them about EGN4, and he basically reiterated what you had just said, but he also said like that collaborative process carries through to literally everything he's ever made, especially with female performers, where he creates this kind of space for them to bring their own experiences and their own elements to the performance, and he's not taking a back seat. The film is very
Yeah.
much still his. But as
Hmm.
far as like what happens within a scene, it's all about his performers. Um,
Yeah.
Now you're a podcaster and a writer, and you've interviewed and collaborated with so many incredible artists. And you also recently contributed to the audio commentary for the new Frontiers Blu-ray, which is a great listen, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
what format do you really think allows you to delve into a film and its subject matter more, writing or podcasting, or are they kind of all one and the same for you?
I've actually turned into quite the podcaster. Never thought that I would, but I Spit on Your podcast is it's 7 years old, I think, this year, which is wild. But I feel like I've dabbled in the writing, but I've gotten a lot better and found my voice with podcasting a bit more. Because I don't get nervous about things like this, and I can just blab on, I can turn it on and turn it off if I need to or don't need to. Writing, I guess I'm just not as confident with. But yeah, so I'd say more of like the podcasting realm allows me at least to share the burden with others.
That's a good way to describe it. Now I have to ask because I was so I picked up the Blu-ray of Frontiers without realizing that you were. How did that come about, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh no, that's fine. So before Kelly's Taboo Terrors, I was involved with another podcast, another podcaster, Zoe Rose Smith, for Our Bloody Obsession. And she's been around for many, many years. She's a well-known female voice in extreme horror and extreme cinema and film criticism overall within the horror genre. So she was my connection to that because she's done other pieces of work for Second Sight Films. So I mean, I always joke about I just wrote her curtails onto that one, which is fine. It was a really great experience, and I'd love to do more. But that was kind of challenging to like put the podcaster aside and not just like keep talking excitedly throughout it because I researched a bunch for it. I really wanted to be prepared, but I learned so much about that movie, so yeah, so that's how that came about.
Yeah, it's just so
Mhm.
it by far it's the definitive edition of that film. Like undoubtedly, for years I had like the Eight Films to Die For DVD
Oh
that had
yes.
nothing on it and like wasn't the greatest transfer, but like it's such a cool edition and what an awesome thing to contribute to.
Yeah.
Um, Now, who are a few filmmakers that you think truly define transgressive cinema? And are there any current filmmakers that you think are still really pushing those boundaries?
Well, bring up Jonathan Doe, of course, and Reagan Fox for Putrid Productions. Um, let's see. There's many filmmakers that either have one film that they've put out that fits within the genre. Um, Oh my Lord, putting me on the spot here.
Take your time. It's a very broad question.
I would definitely say for like current modern, it's definitely for Putrid Productions. Um, Honestly, probably going into the realm of like Asian extreme, like a lot of Japanese filmmakers. Of course, now I can't remember any names off the top of my head, but I mean, Japan has delved into transgressive cinema since essentially 1920s. So, I mean, they have been around for a very long time in film, pushing the boundaries and challenging viewers. So, frankly, just look at Asian extreme and Japanese extreme films going back in time and throughout the years.
Absolutely. And the one that I always kind of go back to, and he's had much mainstream success, but Takashi Miike is, watching Audition when I was, a kid was kind of a transform. You could argue that that was one of the seminal films that got me into this.
Fair. Yes, that was for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, here's a kind of an interesting question. Like transgressive films often challenge our morals or expectations, and they're usually very confrontational and shocking. Have you ever found yourself in a conflict with a film's message or content? And how do you approach films that kind of do that to you?
No, because I think I go into things with a very open mind. On the latest episode of Kelly's Taboo Terrors that just dropped recently, had a conversation about animal suffering and death in films, and that made me avoid various films, and I'm still avoiding or at least hesitating to watch certain movies. Like it took me a long time before I actually watched Cannibal Holocaust. Ended up watching it, loving it. So having the discussion around using animals in film, do or do not, why not? Is that okay? Is that ethical? So I had a really good conversation with my co-host, who is also the guest on that episode, as we're both vegans and I'm a vet tech. So I think about that stuff a lot. Thankfully, there's not a lot of animals killed in film. And there's really even less killed for film. I think that's a very big misconception, and especially about around Mary and Dora, which is what I kind of researched, and what was one of his films is the latest episode of Taboo Terrors. So that usually like gets my back up, but really understanding that it's actually not that common. Almost nobody's actually killing animals for their films. So we can all rest easy. And sometimes some of these movies, let's say like Men Behind the Sun, which I have not seen yet. Again, that's been one I've been putting on the back burner because I kind of have to, you know, prepare myself, psych myself up for watching stuff like that. And I do believe in like bearing witness and seeing stuff. Because we all, again, that's very challenging. And I think that's a big taboo that a lot of people have for good reason, I think, for natural good humanity reasons. So,
Um, have your views changed over time at all about transgressive cinema, either through the lens of your writing or even on like a personal level? Or is it kind of all remain the same?
I've over the years, because I've been now watching movies, writing about them, kind of podcasting about them since maybe 2019. I've just gained a further appreciation for their existence because there's still so many people that think that they should not exist. Like a Serbian film should not exist. Megan is missing. Bring that up again. Should not exist. Like should not have been made. This like rise of this like these Puritan kind of attitudes, this conservatism that's coming through. I think in the younger generation coming through. I'm not sure what that's all about. Deeper topic exploration for another day, but a deeper appreciation for these films and in the understanding of why they exist and why I think they should exist. I think that's been probably one of the biggest things. Not that I thought differently necessarily, but just the appreciation and really understanding that if you can parse through the disturbing nature and the very unsettling scenes that you can see, I get it. It can be rough watching these movies, but getting through to it and getting to the end and understanding that there is a purpose, there is a need, there is a place for films such as this. And I think that more people, if they just sat down with it and, got through the seriousness, that they would see something really meaningful.
Absolutely. And I can, a testament to one, your shirt and also the love for the film. A Serbian film is a movie that I always kind of liken to like a modern day Salò, where it has this really unsavory reputation. And you watch it and you're like, and within the first few minutes, you're like, this is really well made and
Yeah.
beautifully done and like not this gritty, low, no budget film. And there's some real, actual like thematic work happening here, and there's acting and performances and writing. And that's one that people still kind of clutch their pearls over. And I'm so excited, and I'm sure you are too, to see the documentary that Stephen Biro is putting out. Just
Yeah.
the fact that it's taken this long to kind of pull back the curtain on what it was to make that film. Um, I know that like so many fans of it are clamoring to see it. Um,
Yes. I
but yeah,
definitely am. I definitely am. I mean, I love a Serbian film. My appreciation for it has grown over the years. Just love it. It's such a complex movie and complex story, and I love like parsing through all of that. Cultural context is very important when you're watching movies that are outside of your country, and I'm in Canada, so like North America kind of put it together. So cultural context is so important when viewing these movies because that can be very jarring if we are not from there. So I'm really interested to see what the actors have to say about being in this movie because their perspective is going to be wildly different than ours here in North America. Like in Serbia, like horror movies aren't a thing. Like that is not really a thing. That's frowned upon. That's like low-brow garbage entertainment. Like that's not really a thing. So these, last I checked anyways, like these highly like revered, like top tier Serbian actors chose to be in this movie. So I can't wait to hear about all the behind the scenes, all the actors talking about the various scenes that are in that movie and just their thoughts and feelings on why they went about it. They're like during filming and the response to it. I'm just absolutely fascinated by it. And I think more documentaries about these films should be out there because I want to know more.
absolutely. And there's just
Yeah.
not enough about. I mean, like yeah, it adds to the mystique, but like if there's
Yeah.
ever been a modern extreme film that deserves to be kind of demystified, it's a Serbian film. I mean, for my money, it's the most banned modern film that I can possibly think of. It's still banned in certain places, I think,
Yeah.
or at least
People are
not fully uncut.
yeah, people are still talking about it, and I love that. I love seeing the very rage baity comments on social media, and I'm like, I don't know, it's people are like, if you watch this, you should be on a list. I was like, calm
Right.
down. Like I probably am, but like that, no,
The-
calm
and
down.
Yeah, it's a testament though to the film's power that it's so deeply upsetting to people. But again, like you watch it, and at no point are you really, unless you're just that entranced by the editing, do you really believe that anyone was put in harm's way making it, or that anybody was truly in trouble making it? Um, but then there's other films that, kind of cross boundaries where I want to know even more about it. Like The Bunny Game has a sort of,
Mhm.
it's getting a re-release on Blu-ray, but it's the same special features that we've had, minus an audio commentary, by the way.
Ooh.
I'd love to know, like, how that film really kind of was
Oh.
crafted, and it seems very method. Same with Megan is Missing.
Yes.
I do wish that, like, yeah, there's information about it, but I would love, I agree with you that there's should be more about these films out there as far as how they're created. Um,
Yeah.
it's just fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do you think your audience reacts to the films you cover? I know you have a lot of very devoted listeners, but for the people who maybe stumble upon Kelly's Taboo Terrors or I Spit on Your podcast, are they expecting you to go into the uncomfortable stuff? Do you get like pushback from listeners about controversial films? And if so, how do you kind of handle that?
Um, Honestly, I have yet to experience any kind of pushback because if you are coming to Kelly's Taboo Terrors, you know what you're getting in for. I mean, I have not hidden anything from anyone, and some of the greatest compliments I have received thus far is that my episodes and discussions with my guests and everything, or I also, oh, it's probably been a few months now. I should look back at the actual start date, but on my Discord, I've started doing weekly midnight screenings of, disturbing, fucked up movies that you can watch in a group. and kind of like virtual hand holding for people that are maybe curious but don't want to sit around and watch this stuff alone. Because frankly, that's usually what we all do. We're sitting at home on our couch watching these movies all by ourselves. We have no one to share the burden with. Bring that up again. But the idea of, giving somebody the virtual hand holding to watch something they're really curious about and them enjoying it afterwards, or having somebody who's finally watched, let's say, Cannibal Holocaust and had that discussion with the group and with me and talking about various aspects of it, having their minds change. It's kind of an educational experience in taboo subject matter, which wasn't necessarily my beginning goal, but it's turned into something so interesting in that way. So pushback, no, really, it's just been quite positive.
That's awesome. And again, as you
Hmm.
said before, like kind of it's an overused term, but kind of creating that sort of like safer space for people
Yeah,
to sort of experience it together and it's a communal collective experience, which is what I think filmmaking or watching films rather should be.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are
And
made for an audience.
absolutely. And I'm coming at this with Taboo Terrors and really even with I Spin in Your podcast. Like, we come at these movies with respect. And I respect the movies that I'm covering on my podcast. I either love them, really enjoy them. Everything's very like intentionally curated for diversity of various issues and various things. But I respect the movies that I'm covering. I respect this genre. And I find sometimes, you're listening to maybe other podcasts or other people talk about it, I'm missing that respect and makes me think that do you actually enjoy these movies that you're covering, or do you just want to cover them because they're fucked up? Which is fine. Again, that's coming back to that's kind of like the idea of shocks for shock's sake, which is still valid, still very valid. August Underground, iconic classic, just wanted to show the reality of what serial killer like would actually be like, and it's shocking and brutal. um so now that I lost my train of thought, I'll end that answer there. But I come at them with such respect and appreciation, and that's why I want to highlight them and discuss them.
And that's what makes your show so great is that it as you said, like there are people who are otherwise very intelligent who come at stuff with great ideas and dissecting themes, but they just want to review it as like almost like a dare or like, what's the
Yeah,
worst thing we can find in
yeah,
underground cinema and just talk
yeah,
about the gory details as opposed to
yeah,
talking about it as a piece of art.
absolutely. Again, space for reviewers, which that would fall under more of like reviewing the movie. Then there's like analyzing or dissecting the movie. You know what I mean? And I like to do that. I Spinning Your podcast forced me to think critically about film, so it's kind of just ingrained in my head now. So that's what I wanted Taboo Terrors to be. Not just banter in a review, an actual discussion. And again, I specifically curate the movies, the season, the discussions, and the guests to fit into my maniacal plan.
With everything changing so fast in media and filmmaking, do you think true boundary pushing transgressive cinema is still possible, or is it harder to achieve nowadays? Like you mentioned Jonathan Doe, and he's a great example, but like he's only one in a vast swath of would-be transgressive filmmakers.
I mean, I think it's still possible. I think people need to get creative because if you watch enough of these movies like I have, you start noticing trends, but also it's kind of trends in cultures, so in different countries too, right? If we get out of the North American box, we'll see a lot of exploration in a lot of different areas. But one of the trends and patterns that I've noticed, it's a lot of male on female violence, male on female violence, and it's like, wow, that's boring. um it's a harsh reality, so I'm not saying don't do it, but there's so much in our own lives that we could explore, and things that happen in the world naturally that we could explore as well. So I mean, there's still taboos and things out there to explore. So I think it's and not being lazy about it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and not indulging in the trope of male on female violence in horror films is part of just the lexicon of horror. I mean, it goes back to the
Yes.
60s and 50s.
Yes.
What's something in the world of transgressive cinema that you're excited about right now? And are there any emerging artists or films to kind of keep your eye on?
There is, and I haven't seen her work yet, but her name is Louise Word, I believe, or I forget how to pronounce her last name because I now that I'm thinking about it. But she has a movie called The Castration Movie, that I think is like 4 hours long and deeply transgressive. And I haven't seen that yet. I've just heard so much about her. She's a trans filmmaker from the States, and I haven't seen any of her stuff. I think she did like this Dickstruction kind of like anthology of like penile or penis injuries and mutilation and stuff like that that I would still love to see. So she's kind of like this elusive filmmaker that I'm really curious about, but I have yet to see anything from her. And of course, again, Jonathan Doe, Reagan Fox. Mainly love John. I love Daddy Doe, but Reagan Fox is what I'm most excited about because she is, again, a woman coming into this sphere of even like going into fetish gore, which is like niche, which in within the world of extreme cinema. And I'm really into fetish gore. I really like the stuff that Jonathan Doe has done in that realm. So I think she particularly is one to look out for a fresh perspective, a fresh voice, a fresh face coming in and doing something else.
I couldn't agree more. And finally, where do you see your work going next? And do you have any exciting projects, whether that be a new season of Taboo Terrors coming up or anything new that we can look out for coming down the pike for you?
Something new. So I've almost wrapped up season one of Kelly's Taboo Terrors on necrophilia. I just got my epitaph to write up and record for August. Also in August, I'm hosting my fourth annual. Took a break last year, bringing it back this year. It's called Visceral Pleasure and Extreme Cinema 4. So what that is a day of online or virtual panels discussing movies and themes of my choice. So that will be on August 30th. It's a Saturday. I'm in Eastern time. I'll be announcing more of that probably in the first week of August, but that'll be coming up. I'm really excited. And that is also to contain a Discord screening of Majestic Flesh Faucet of Projectile Bile with a post-screening Q&A with Jonathan and Reagan, which I'm really excited about because that movie, again, blew me away. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So that's coming up. And then the next season of Taboo Terrors will be beginning in September, and that is cultural extremism, which is something that I coined and a label and a kind of a genre in and of its own. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be traumatizing and rough, but I'm looking forward to it.
That all sounds amazing. I know that all of your fans and listeners are looking forward to it. And Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the rapid fire questions. Getting this brain working today.
Absolutely. And thank you again. And I'll let you know when this goes live.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too, Jesse. Take care.
Bye, Kelly.